Couch Co-op. Couch Co-op. Couch Co-op.
Hello, Couch Co-opers, Couch Potatoes, and Couch Codependents. This is the Couch Co-op Show. I'm your host, Ian, and joining me right now is Dave. Hey, Dave.
Hey up. How's it going?
Yeah, and please do me a favor, do us a favor, and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Couch Co-op Shows, all one word, no hyphen. And let's get to the show. We didn't record an episode last night, but we're doing an episode tonight. Yeah. Before I get started, I want to make sure that we let all of you know that we have a new podcast, the four of us, the four guys. We're doing a beer podcast called The Couch Co-op. And you can find it on iTunes, Spotify. Go to anchor.fm, The Couch Co-op Show. You can find it. And it's been a real fun show, right, Dave?
Yep, it's a wonderful little podcast where we basically just each one of us picks a beer every week and we sample it and we say we hate it. It's just middling.
Yeah.
We talk a little bit of BS about the beer and maybe it means something to us. We talk a little bit about that, and if not, we just say why we like it or why we don't. The case may be, and not all tastes
the same. Yeah. It's funny because so this is kind of what this episode's going to be. A little bit of what this episode's going to be about. Like, kind of, I've noticed in the last few weeks, I've lost interest in video games. And
for me, it's probably been since December, January. I mean, I still play Rocket League a little bit, but even that, I'm not logging every day, and I still play video games. But it's an interesting discussion as to whether we've just lost the interest in video games or just in a spot.
Maybe, and that's kind of one of the reasons I started the new podcast, because I wanted to keep the guys together. I wanted to keep doing a podcast. I don't want our listeners to be like, oh, hey, but at the same time, I've felt this burnout, and I don't know what it is. Like, it's funny too, because I bought a PlayStation 5 and I'm ready for the next gen. But I just, man, I don't, it's hard for me. Like, I just feel, every game just feels like the same.
That PlayStation 5.
What is it?
It does take a lot more to impress me nowadays.
I think the PlayStation 5 is impressive, but I just feel like video games, there's, for me personally right now, and this is the topic, everyone, we're just kind of talking about burnout. I feel like video games have become all the same, and I'm not interested in them right now. How do you feel, Dave?
And I still like my video games, but right now, I think the last video game I was actually interested in playing was Cyberpunk. Obviously, that went the way it went. I don't have the hardware to play it on in the way it's meant to be played. So, really, I've just been kind of catching up on a lot of games, but I feel like since the start of the year, I haven't had the motivation. I got Wreckfest, and I really enjoy it, but and one of the things I actually enjoy about it is I just pick it up and do like one challenge.
It's kind of mindless.
Down. Yeah, and it's kind of mindless. It's not a big story-driven game. I downloaded all the PlayStation Plus games from last month and haven't played any of those. I downloaded all the ones from the month before, and I was kind of excited to play Final Fantasy VII, but I put a couple of hours in it, but I haven't touched it for a week. And then in the set, and talking to burnout, I mean, I bought Star Wars Squadron December or January, and I've put it in my machine to install it, but I've not actually yet.
That's
Since
funny.
what?
That's funny.
April.
Well, it's funny because like Game Pass, you can get it for $1 this month, and
Hmm.
EA Origins is part of Game Pass now. So I got Squadrons too, and I booted
Yeah.
it up on my PC, and then I was just like, I don't want to play this. Like,
And
but
what's even
that's a
funnier
lot
about
of
that?
that. But that's a lot of the games right now, Dave.
Yeah.
Ace Combat. I installed it because I have PlayStation Now. I installed it. I started to play it. I played the first level. I was like, that's cool. I've done this. I don't want to play this. It's like that's a lot of what I'm going through right now. I'm just like, oh, this is the same. It looks better, but I don't really care. Goodbye. That's where I'm at
Well,
right now.
yeah, I'm kind of the same way. But having said that, I got my RetroPie Raspberry Pi system up and going, and I've played Simpsons with my daughter. And then recently, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I have a Commodore Amiga 1200 that took a dump on me last year, and I sent it off to get repaired, and I got a replacement back, repairable, fortunately. And so in the last week, I've actually been playing Cannon Fodder and a point and click adventure game called Future Wars, which are two games that I loved back in the 90s, but I never actually beat.
Right.
So I'm trying to beat those now, and I'm actually having more fun doing that than I've had in a long while playing video games. But also more frustration because you forget how unforgiving some of the old games are. There's points in both of those games where you just like, really, you know,
Right.
it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, kind of, to get to the next bit.
Well, one of the things I'm dealing with, and I don't, maybe you're not dealing with it all, but I feel like so much of my identity now is couch co-op and playing a lot of video games and being that guy that plays a bunch of video games and beats a lot of video games and buys a lot of video, and then I feel guilty that I'm not doing that right now, but I have no interest in doing that. It's weird. I feel like I've none of it interests me. Even the kind of more pervy stuff that I'm usually into, that doesn't interest me anymore. I'm just like I feel like video games I just would rather do other things.
I feel like I mean, honestly, for most of my time video games, I feel like it's always been kind of a sign where I get closer to being like technically a gamer, and then I'll move away, and for whatever, I just I'm just not interested in it, and then I can get really sucked in, and then so I don't think it's bad that you take a break, and sometimes that makes you appreciate more. But I also, like I said earlier, I just wonder how much of it, in fact, like you say, there is a lot of video games that are kind of generic right now.
I feel
But
like
there's no
every video game is kind of every video game is like based off another video game. Like none of them there's no real origin, which is fine. I'm not against that, but I just feel like
so
I want something a little bit new that pushes me, shows me something different.
I will say it, and you'll probably maybe agree or disagree. I don't know. It's same kind of not really superhero movies.
Right, no.
Kind of like I've
Exactly.
seen it all before, and it's like it just
Right.
ends up with a big sci-fi, a big special effects fight at the end. I'm kind of like, okay, that was, you know, guy guy discovers powers, guy gets on the
Right.
skids, guy gets gets up and fights and wins the day, kind of. Or
Formula,
perhaps not guy, but
formula, 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 formula,
yes.
formula makes money. It's like, okay, but I'm kind of like I don't know. I don't know what I want. but I just want something with a little more substance than just formula right now. And I just feel like the industry is just a bunch of formula, and I need something, and I honestly just need to take a break. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. Although to be quite honest, I'm really enjoying going back to some of the games because I'm playing Cannon Fodder, and that is a game not get made today because substance-wise, there isn't that much to the game if you're honest.
Right.
It's like a series of almost like puzzle-esque levels where you try and get your soldiers through, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, that would probably rank as a mobile game today, but that
Right.
back in the day, that was a big perhaps not big budget, but it was a prestige title
Okay.
for want of a better description. It was a game that people paid $50, $60 for nowadays. But I'm kind of enjoying the simplicity of it in some respects.
Right. It's funny because
So,
it's not even just video games themselves. It's because I used to be really ingrained in the video game news and video game, like, just the ecosystem of it. Like this podcast,
mhm.
I would listen to podcasts, I would watch streams, I just all of that shit seems so awful and redundant, and I just don't care. It's like I've hit a tipping point where and it's funny because I have a podcast. We have a podcast, and like we expect people to listen to us, and I'm like saying like, don't fucking support this shit. It's like I've gotten to a point where it's like, I just don't care what any of these people have to say. So I say I don't care what people have to say, and it's like, what do our listeners? I'm not our
I
listeners.
think
I'm
that's
like,
a problem with.
but you know what I'm saying? It's like I don't.
I think that's a problem with a lot of industries, though. I mean, there's a lot of like unimportant stuff. Like the movie industry is exactly the same. There's a lot of like gossip and insider news and all the rest of it that some people are interested, but it doesn't actually affect the end product much,
Right.
if you know what I mean.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, some studio fires a few developers because X, Y, Z, they don't do this, but in the end, like movies, same way as video games, are an art. You judge it on the final product, and sometimes the final product is a little flawed, but doesn't necessarily bad. It's
Right.
not fun. It's just,
But
but
it's even beyond that. It's just like I just don't care that these media outlets or these podcasts have an opinion. Like their opinions are so like shut the fuck. I'm like just like shut the fuck up. Who cares? I just like
yeah.
I'm just like
So what you're
I
saying is that opinions are like arseholes, and everyone's got one.
yeah, and it's like just go shit in a diaper in the corner. Like don't tell us about it. I'm just like, and it's like at the same time it's like, well, I have a podcast and I'm shitting in a diaper telling people to smell it, and I'm just like, I'm getting to a point where like it's just I don't even I feel I'm so conflicted.
No,
I'm so
I know,
conflicted.
and I know exactly what you mean because I've noticed a trend in the news in the last 10 years where they'll have a story and it's not about what someone said. It'll just be and as it happens a lot when people die as well. It'll just be a bunch of screenshots of Twitter of someone saying, well, that guy was great, you know. And it's kind of like, I don't really care. They don't tell you anything about the actor or whoever it is that died. They just have like,
Yeah, it's like
you know,
it's like a
such and such.
clickbait or something. It's just like
Yeah, such and such said, and I've noticed it in what I would call respect to publications that should know better.
for sure, for sure. And
And it, and
that's definitely one of the problems. But
yeah,
like even when video game press has a viable opinion, it's just like I don't care about that either. Like I think your opinion is just stupid shit. I don't know. I'm getting to a point where like why am I the captain of a video game podcast? Like I am so just like
Kiss, can you imagine the fuck up if it was me?
I'm just so I'm just like what are we doing? And I love all you guys that listen, and that's why I keep making episodes, and that's why we're here. And maybe you can email us or message us, but like a part of me is just like, what the fuck, and what the fuck is wrong with the gaming industry, and what there's just a lot of like I'm tired. I'm really tired, and where are the great games? Like I would even argue that last generation we got a lot of good games. We got very few great games. You know?
I know. I can see where you're coming from because I would argue that like Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, and God of War, really well produced games, but where they really, they had a good story and they had a good game
And they were
mechanics
really pretty, but what did they
and they
really
were really pretty,
what
but
did they really
they
change?
they were an iteration. They
Yeah.
weren't and they weren't a new style of game, for want of a better description.
I want that technology to make I mean, we've been promised new AI since like PS3 generation. And I feel like the AI is still the same across even on these early PS5 games. It's like I want that AI to be like revolutionarily new. We haven't got that. We just get
Yeah, I feel
they push that shit to make it prettier and prettier it doesn't need to be prettier. It doesn't need to be. It needs to be smarter. And that's where
but
I'm at.
even then, pretty is not even that much. Because
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean,
Right.
I'm thinking because, like I mentioned earlier, I've been playing a lot of older systems, and to me, it's more technologically impressive what they get away with on some of the systems
Right.
than it is now. And I think while while graphics and all the rest of it improved significantly since the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2 was the last real kind of jump
Right.
gameplay. Because I mean, let's face it, Grand Theft Auto 3,
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 is just a prettier version.
But
It has.
we talk about PS3 HD finally. I'm happy with PS3 graphics. I just want the
Yeah,
gameplay to become better. The graphics are a marginal thing to me, but for some reason the industry has tricked everyone, the populace, into thinking the graphics are everything. But making graphics better just makes the games the same. And I don't want the games
you
to
know,
be the same. I want the games to be better. Fuck the graphics.
and then I think part of it is just, the remake syndrome.
Oh, there's
Because I
that
mean,
too.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
for sure.
Star Wars Squadron, great game. It's probably just a remake of X TIE Fighter that came out when, God, 25 plus years ago now. It's the same game essentially. It's just got a bit of a player component and it looks a lot better. You know, but there's nothing there that's
Oh, that's the same thing with Grand Theft Auto. I mean, it's the same engine all the way through.
yeah,
It's the
yeah. The
it's
only time that Grand Theft Auto iterate or improved, it went from 2D to 3D.
it's kind of I mean where it's really apparent for me is Assassin's Creed. I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I sunk a lot of time into it. And then Valhalla was just like a wall. I hit that. I played that game and it was like hitting a wall. And it was just like, what?
No, I know exactly what you mean. For me, I played Far Cry 4 was the first games I played on PlayStation 4 and loved that game. Really, really enjoyed it, and I played Far Cry 5, Dawn, and Primal, and I've enjoyed them all. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing about those games that was, you know, couldn't, if you'd have just told me it was a reskin of Far Cry 4, like, oh yeah, that right. I totally see that.
But you
So
you finished
it's
those
kind of
though.
like,
You didn't hit a wall.
yeah,
You muscled through those games. I hit a wall with Valhalla. I'm like, man, this is just I don't know. What's the point?
yep.
What's
that,
what's the
that's how I felt about No Man's Sky. Actually, there was that, and then The Outer Wilds was exactly the same thing. It was just like, I don't care about this story. I don't care about this world, and I just don't really want to play it right now.
and that's kind of I mean, even Wreckfest. I mean, just as a game, Wreckfest was a game that I mean, I like Wreckfest a lot, but Wreckfest as a game was like a kind of a palate cleanser. But even in itself, I mean, I mean, I made it pretty far, but I didn't beat it. I didn't complete it.
I have to say, it's a prettier version of Destruction Derby. I
Oh,
know you say
well,
that
for
game
sure.
sucks, but it really is. I mean,
Oh, for
there's
sure.
nothing in here that couldn't have been done 20 years ago.
Right. But it's a
I
fun
mean,
game. It's a lot of
it's
fun.
fun. And that's what I like about it. It is relatively simple. It's like race or destroy, or
But it's
it's pretty.
it's funny when I sit in my head and I'm playing it. It's like, well, this is just a version of a game I've played a million times before. It looks
Yes,
better. That's
this is the
that's what
2.1 version,
this is what I suffer
kind of.
from when I play a lot of games. I'll sit there. I'll be playing. I'll just sit there. It's like, am I like right now? I am so cynical about video games. I sit there in it and I'm just like playing it. It's like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. And then in a moment, there's like, but this and this and
Yeah,
I don't want to do
you.
this right now.
I know what you mean. You find a lot of the time you think either a, oh, this is like a slightly improved version of
Right. A
insert
or
game
B.
here,
Right. Right.
or you're like, oh, insert game here did this bit better.
Right. For sure.
And it's, I still enjoy playing video games, but I I know exactly what you mean about
I feel
my
bad. I feel
interest
bad.
is
Yeah.
currently waning.
I feel bad too because I mean we've given not just me but you and Aaron and Jared. We've given so much to video games. Really, I mean, even if we hadn't done a podcast, which we've also done, but we've spent so much time playing them. But we also did a podcast, and we've given so much to this hobby. And right now, I just feel like I have like no love for it. I don't have the love for it, and it's just so weird for something that
I
like is
think
it's a part of our identity. I feel for me it's a part of my identity being the guy who plays a lot of video games, you know? I just feel like I just have no love for it right now.
I I also think though it's been a weird year because I I've been brewing beer since as long as you,
Right.
and I haven't brewed any beer for the last year and a half now. Perhaps not a year and a half, but getting on for that.
Maybe even more.
Yeah, because the homebrew store closed, and I just had the motivation to do it. And I think there's been times, like all my hobbies, been like that, where it's like I've left them and I've come back to them, and some of them I've left. I mean, I used to fly model rockets a lot,
Right.
and I just gave up that hobby. And it wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. I just, no, it was just time for something else.
Like
But
yeah,
I,
I don't think I'll ever give up video games per se, but it's definitely at a point in my life where like that's one of the reasons I created the beer podcast. I wanted to do the beer podcast. I just hey, let's focus on something else for a while, you know? And we'll do this show. I mean, I'm not getting rid of Couch Co-op. I mean, Couch Co-op is a thing. We have
yeah,
500, 600 like listeners. Like there's people that listen to us. So it's like I'm not going to get rid of it, but I want them to know that like, man, are you as kind of I don't know. You guys have to let us know. You have to send us emails.
Yeah.
Let me know. Like, I'm kind of just like, I'm so fed up with the industry and the way it treats everybody and the amount of the amount of news and podcasts and press has got to be kind of tiring. I mean, it's tiring to me, and I have a podcast, so I don't know. But
Yeah, I was talking with my wife earlier though today, and like that Commodore Amiga came. I can't tell you how it's like. So in my living room, I've got the TV on the PlayStation and the TV on and so I got a little table and I put it on
right.
the TV, and on that little table, my Commodore Amiga, the mouse, and the rest of it set up. And every time I just look over there, it makes me smile.
See, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's like it. I'm like, I definitely it was a good move. I
You,
enjoy it. And then on the poof next to it is my Raspberry Pi with the
you know what,
Xbox controllers.
Dave? You know what makes me smile?
What?
I get up in the morning and I make my tea, and I go outside and I
Earl
get my
Grey.
key, and it's English breakfast, and I go unlock the garage. I open the door and I look at that car. Makes me smile.
I know exactly what you mean, because I look out the front. I used to look out the front window and I'd look at it and I'd be like, yeah, that car is mine, and it runs.
Couple hours pass, and I do some stuff around the house, and then it's like, oh, I'll go start her up just to make sure that she's okay. And I open the garage door and the other door.
Yeah,
and
try not to gas yourself.
Yeah.
The
Turn her over
carburetor.
and opens up, and I rev her a little bit and let her run. She just idles, and I just let it run for a few minutes, and then I close, and then I turn her back off, and I just like think, God damn, what a cool car.
I know.
That's where I'm at.
I
don't know.
I must admit, I don't look under my TV and look at my PlayStation 4, and it doesn't make me smile.
Yeah, you know what's stupid about? I have a PS5.
In the same way.
I have a fucking thing that 1 million people can't get right now. I don't give two shits about it. Oh, it's funny. Oh, Dave, we dropped Dave. He's back. Maybe he's back. Yeah.
I'm back.
Sorry.
You were saying you have a thing under your TV that makes 1 million.
Yeah, I have a PS5, and millions of people want it, and I mean, I like having it, but
I go through the same thing. I'm like,
what's the point?
Every day I look at the PlayStation 5 drops. But then there's part of me in the back of my head which is like, do you even want this thing? There's no games
game.
for it.
There's no game. Play. It's just status. It's just like status right now.
Yeah, it's like, what are you gonna do with this thing? You're just gonna watch Netflix on it and play some PlayStation 4 games.
Right.
I mean,
you know what I watched? You know what I used it today? You know what I used it for? Actually, this is newsworthy. Fucking Avengers is on PlayStation Now, so I installed PlayStation Avengers to play PlayStation Now. But what I used it for today is I watched the second episode of the new Mighty Ducks show on Disney Plus. That's what I watched.
How was that?
It's quirky, stupid, but I enjoy it because I grew up watching the Mighty Ducks. So anyway, it's stupid shit. All I'm saying is I don't know where I am right now. I feel like video games. It's funny. The only video games I really enjoy playing right now is like when you would ask me to play Rocket League. I love kicking ass. Or when Bill and I play Warzone. Like last week on Warzone, I killed 9 dudes in a game. I've never done that before.
Wow.
That was like fucking like, I was just like, fuck it. I just want to kill fuckers. Right now, video games are a competitive thing. Like, so right now, the only thing that gets me to play or interests me is like kicking ass. So like playing Rocket League or playing Warzone, it's like this competitive edge. But regular video games, they're just not, I don't know. They don't.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going through a phase of all the video games I really enjoyed in the early to mid 90s and trying to beat him. You know, I've got all these retro systems, and that seems to be what I'm working on right now is Cannon Fodder, Future Wars, and a couple of other games.
I mean, part of me also loves my big titty games like Conan or Skyrim, but at the same time, like how pathetic is that, dude? Like I don't like part of me is like tired of being that guy. So it's like
You mean being the naughty guy?
yeah, like but who want like who staring at those anime titties like who like I don't know. I'm just being judged
I know.
by hundreds of people.
I also think with a lot of video games as well, though, it's like video games has almost become it's. I don't necessarily like some of the video game culture.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Like that surrounds video games, and you know, being a nerd when I was younger, I don't think it was a bad thing. But being a nerd meant you were technologically adept.
Oh, for
Whereas
sure.
now being a nerd just means you know everything about Star Trek or Marvel, or, you know. And I don't feel that's as interesting to me as being.
I mean, 100%, Dave. I mean, back when let's be honest. Like nowadays, everyone's a Marvel DC nerd because of the movies.
Yes.
But like when I was a kid in high school with my Marvel comics, I would get my comics ripped and I would get beat up for them. You know what I mean? Like I would.
Yeah, it never went that far, but I like Star Trek.
Oh,
and it would be the same thing.
I've been beat up. I've had comics ripped. I was just like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, like you fucking nerd. You love your little bullshit, and it's like it. It's funny now that we've inherited the Earth and everyone else loves that shit. That I feel like it's less like you weren't there. You weren't there for the shit that I went through to support this company and their anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how to put it into words, but being a gamer is the same kind of thing. Because being a gamer wasn't a thing when I was in my teenage years. You weren't a gamer. You played computer games. You know, but you did other things. It wasn't like your defining characteristic wasn't that you played every video game known to man. It just so happened you played computer games.
But we can't be bitter about that stuff, Dave. You know, it grows.
I know.
It's like, you know, Call of Duty made it grow beyond like
Bro.
You know what I mean? It's like it become bruh. Marvel grew beyond comics and became a movie and then becomes another thing and
yeah, I just feel like sometimes when people get so far into like a subculture, it's almost they become a parody themselves. And sometimes I feel like gamer culture has become that.
For sure.
And it's not the only culture, but you know,
like comic book culture has become this weird parody of itself.
Yeah, the like dude bro culture. I mean, I know
for sure
when we play Call of Duty, we go dude bro, but there's actually people who
are hardcore about it. Like
who actually do that, and the tongue isn't in the cheek.
Yeah, we've made fun of them, but that's how they are. Exactly.
It's just.
But all of that gets so
the long tail of the internet.
I mean, I got tired of comics for a long time. You know, I think maybe I just need to take a break. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I must admit, I find with movies, I don't like a lot of modern movies. I enjoy, like, my favorite period is probably the 70s because there's a lot of grim movies, but I also like the fact that they don't explain everything to you and they're a lot slower.
Right.
And I feel like video games in some respects, it's like I wouldn't want to say when the golden age was or is.
But there's a lot of hand holding now, for sure.
Yes, I mean they are a lot easier. Like playing all these old Amiga games from the early 90s, it's like, man, The
Figure
difficulty spikes in those games would
fi-
not fly
figure it out.
nowadays.
Figure it out, motherfucker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's either figure it out or it's like you have to have Twitch reaction. You know, a game can go from being like relatively easy. To give you an example, there's one bit in this point and click adventure,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the items you pick up, I swear, are only 2 pixels big on the screen. You know, and the resolution isn't that high, so you can't actually see them.
Right.
But there's one bit where you've got to spray some insecticide on mosquitoes, and I swear it's about 2 or 3 pixels difference between being too far away from the mosquitoes to spray them and being too close that they kill you. I mean, it really is brutal. Just like, yeah, if they remade this nowadays,
It wouldn't be a
that would
thing. No, because you would
no.
know where the killing distance is. It's a weird time. And I just feel like I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm just feeling tired and like I'm just waiting for the PS5 to mature and
But how many times have you had this feeling before? Because I know I I've gone through phases for the last decade, 2 decades, where
I feel
there'll
like
be like
I feel
six
like
months period where I'm
I
just not
feel like
interested.
video game wise, Dave, I haven't I had it I haven't really had it. Maybe at the tail end of PS4, at the tail end, but like through
Yep.
PS3 and I mean from PS2, PS3, PS4, I've always been pretty solid video games. Like I've been for it. And movies if we go to movies, I've felt that a lot, but I don't do a podcast on movies. So like it's weird,
True.
and I don't do I used to do kind of a podcast on comics, and but I don't know. I just feel like I don't know what I feel like. I don't know what I feel like. I'm tired a little bit, and I just I think I honestly, listeners, I'm stepping back quite a bit. I'm not like last generation. I mean, I bought all the new games. I played as many games as I could humanly possible. I talked about them. I reviewed them. You're not gonna get that from me this generation. I'm not, or I'm just kind of like, oh, that game looks cool, but unless I'm 100% on it, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm just not gonna play it. I don't really have a
But
huge interest.
I do also feel like, as much as you paid attention to the news, and I don't pay that much attention to the video game news. And but I do it comes up on my radar every so often. Look what new games coming out and all the rest of it. And to be quite honest, there's nothing that's really on my radar. And
Right.
it's the first time in a long time where there's no game that I'm at least aware of. I'm like, oh, that seems like it might be an interesting game. It's a year out or 2 years out. There's No Man's Sky, even though I ended up not enjoying that game as much as I thought I would. That was a game that was at least on my radar for like 2 years before it came out.
Right.
The only games that I'm aware of are like Grand Theft Auto, and I'm like, oh yeah, that'll just come when it comes. And Horizon Zero Dawn, not Zero Dawn, what they call it, Way Out West.
Right.
But
But even when Grand Theft Auto 6 finally drops, at this point in my video game career, I do not care.
no,
Like I know
I
what that game's going to be. They're not going to do anything different. I feel like there's a certain pinnacle that video, and they are
I no,
unwilling. I don't feel like they're willing to really change their formulas. Like Borderlands 3 didn't change their formula. You know what I mean? It's just like they're these money thing, and it's like I want something that's gonna do. Like Cyberpunk, I was hoping would do something. Still a great game, but it didn't really do
yeah,
what I
it's
thought
like
they were gonna do.
where are the system sellers? Because I remember I never actually owned one, but I remember playing GoldenEye on N64 single player on a friend's N64 and Mario 64 and thinking, wow, these are really great games. I should go out and buy an N64. I remember the Xbox. I remember playing Halo and playing that like 2-player on that and thinking, wow, this is something really new. I should go out and buy an Xbox. I remember playing Metal Gear Solid 2 on PlayStation 2 and thinking, wow, this looks amazing and I love the storytelling. This is something new. I actually had a PlayStation 2, so I didn't think I should go
Right.
out and buy one.
Right.
But, after that, it's kind of like it's been more iterative. Because I had an Xbox 360 after that, and I played the Halo sequels that came out on that, and they were good games, and I enjoyed them. Don't get me wrong, but you know, that's kind of like Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the. I don't feel like they've eclipsed that on the X than when it was on the Xbox and the PlayStation 2, and I only like the Xbox One more because it allowed 4-player split screen.
I mean, Dave,
So
Battlefront 2 on the current gen has the Ewoks versus Imperial soldiers mode. If you haven't played that, that's that's fucking
I
gold.
know, but it's
I'm
just
just
an
kidding.
iteration. It's
No,
not like I'm gonna go out and
I mean, come on. If you start as an Imperial fighter, you die, you become an Ewok. I mean, that's new.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. No,
But
I
then,
know, I know
but
what you
then
mean.
part of
I
it
know
as
what you
well
mean.
is
I know
it's
what you
like
mean.
those. You look at Battlefront 2 and on the latest one and all the rest of it, and it's like, okay, how many times can you really tell the Star Wars story in video game form?
Right.
I mean, how many times can you make that interesting?
Well,
It's the same
here's an
same thing with Star Trek and these other properties. It's kind of like they need to just die and be replaced by something.
but here's an example. You and I have this love of Ace Combat. We've played
Hmm.
it many times, and then you played the latest Ace Combat 7. You recommended that I play it, so I started playing it, and you're right. I like instantly. It's familiar. It's fun. But then in that, it's like none of this is. This hasn't. Like I'm playing through the second mission, and it just doesn't. This is just the same fucking game.
So what you're saying is
It
it's
looks
like
better.
Nightmare on Elm Street 8. It's like this
It
is the
looks
same
better.
freaking movie.
It
It's
looks
just
better. It looks way better. But like there's no real draw for me to I started playing, it's just like, and now I have to like upgrade all these planes, and
I'm
I don't
sorry, and
know. No, it's a
it's
great.
okay.
No, I don't hate it. It's very familiar and I like it. But like they have done absolutely nothing to that game aside from making it prettier. Then it
Yeah,
it's no different than that PS2 version we used to play in my basement on that 13-inch TV. It's the same exact fucking game. They have done
you
nothing
know,
to it.
and I think that's a lot of the games as well. Is it's suffering from the movie sequel syndrome,
Right.
whereas it's a lot harder to launch a new property than it is to just make what it is, whatever you want to call it, to. you know.
And obviously they did things to it. They made a VR version and they did all these things. But this is like what is the actual evolution of Ace Combat? Like not
Yes.
how much prettier can we make Ace Combat, but what is the next evolution of that game?
And
That's you know,
even making it prettier, that's just diminishing returns because someday,
but that's every game.
sometime in the future, we're just going to end up at the ultimate end goal is that everything looks photorealistic anyway.
Right.
And at that point, it's like, okay, so you can't make it prettier, so you can't fall back on like, wow, this is amazing looking. You've got to you've actually got to have some either gameplay or a story
And I
kind of
think that's why
works.
real life the competitive stuff like Rocket League or Warzone, just like that competitive, like that real world competitive, against someone else who you can't really count on, that kind of that
Honestly,
intangible. That's
I
what
think that's
that,
a lot of what's I've enjoyed in video games over my career. Like my best video game memories are playing like Super Smash Brothers and Battlefront and
Right.
games where it's like we're on the couch, not games where we're fighting the computer unnecessarily. There's a story.
I mean, last week when I was playing with Bill and we were just like, we were playing Plunder, but we decided it's like, fuck it, we're just gonna start killing people. And we just, we're having, just like going after, and it's so, there's nothing that can, I don't know. And I don't know how regular video games kind of compete with that. I don't know. The unknown,
Yeah,
the unknown. When do video games start competing like something that feels more intangible? Like I
yeah.
don't know.
I also think though part of it is our age. For one better description, is that when you were a teenager that age, you really had to be. You didn't have enough to buy all the video games, and they never went on sale like they do now. So it's kind of like
Right, we were
when you were
so
buying a
yeah.
cartridge game, 50 pound or $50, you'd either have rented it from Blockbuster or a friend had it and you played it at theirs, and you were like, okay, I definitely want this game.
And we're
Whereas
not
now
and we're not kids either anymore.
no,
We're adults and we can buy whatever the fuck we want. So we're just kind of like, we didn't like this, we move on. It becomes
yeah.
this kind of
And the other thing is, we're adults, so I don't know about you, but I can't come home at 3:30 after school, play video games till 6 o'clock, eat
what?
for 20 minutes, and
What?
then go back up
What?
and play video games till I go to bed,
I
like I
can.
used to when I was a kid.
I can. But I don't really like to, so
No, I know I don't like that. That's the other thing. I think my attention span is just to what it used to be. I
I'm
definitely
also like now that
definitely
I'm a
remember doing
homeowner,
that.
Dave. Now that I'm again a homeowner, I just like doing things around my house, which is
Yep.
weird.
No, I totally understand. I enjoy it's like that white car of ours for the gambler. I really, you know,
Mhm.
yeah, I've dropped. How many times have I dropped the transmission out of that because of the clutch? And I mean, I really enjoyed doing that. Even even the third time, I was a little bit pissed off. I had to the third time because I fucked it up
Well, the
twice. But
third time was because we kind of had to figure out what was wrong with it.
yeah, yeah, true. The first time was because it was rattling. Uh, well, the first time we dropped it was because we had to replace it because it was broken.
Second time
The
was the
second
rattling,
was the rattling and find anything in there.
and
I wish I'd
third time we
I
broke it.
wish I'd gone that extra step and just backed those bolts out, and that would have told me exactly what was.
Right.
And then I would have been like, save myself the third time. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy doing that, and I enjoy. But by the same token, I have a motorbike that I've worked on a lot, and I know it's
Well,
getting on to spring. I should take it out and start it up, and I just can't be
well,
bothered. So it's
right,
not just video games.
right, right, and that's. But we also used to play music a lot of times, and I didn't get sick of playing music. We just kind of stopped.
Yep.
I'm kind of sick of playing video games though. It's different. Like I didn't, I'm not sick of working on the car. I'm not sick of doing, but like I've kind of become sick of playing video games, which is weird. That's I guess that's my thing.
Yeah, I know it. I know exactly what you mean. I feel like I watch, to be quite honest, which I'm not sure is any better than video games, but I definitely, I just, I don't think I've beat a video game this year.
Yeah, I don't know if you have. I've beaten a couple, but nothing
Yeah,
special.
I might have beaten something in January, but it was a hangover from December. But I've really not played that much. So,
But we got more important things going on.
No, but for all this negativity, I still love video games and I still do play them from time to time.
For sure. No,
Um,
I will always love video games. You know, it's
yeah,
always been a thing. We started Couch Co-op and it's been a great thing and I love the industry and what they've given us. I just feel like it's just beyond the fact that we've in a new generation, I just feel like it's a very stagnant time. And I'm hoping that video games move beyond pretty. Something
yeah.
offers something.
I think it'll be interesting to see in a year's time where we are, like what we think about this in a year's time, because like I say, right now it's just kind of a dead zone for releases and news in general.
Right, right.
There's, you know, and with each passing generation, I've seen more and more remakes as well, which adds to that kind of feeling.
Oh, for
I've seen
sure.
it all before, and
Yeah, we
it's
were
just a
talking about.
prettier
I think
game.
in the last episode when Aaron brought up the fact
Yeah,
about remakes, it's like, yeah, there are so many remakes now.
yeah. Think about how many games last generation came out on the PlayStation 3 and
Or
PlayStation
two,
4,
or
or the Xbox.
you know.
Yeah, the 360 or the. Whereas I remember when I got my PlayStation 2 back in the day, I don't think there were any games that came out on the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 1. Or not any that anyone cared about.
No, because that was CD versus DVD. I don't think there's any actual,
Yeah.
maybe a sports game, but
Yeah, probably some Madden or sports games that were on both formats for a while, but actual other than that, it was whereas, PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, there
yeah,
still weren't that many
the
there.
the
And
cross gen games are becoming a bigger and longer thing. Like
yeah,
I remember cross gen between PS3 and PS4 was kind of a big deal. Obviously, you had Grand Theft Auto 5 and
Destiny.
Destiny. You had certain games, but that was it seemed very quick. It happened and then it was over. Now, this whole new generation is cross gen games. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like which is fine. Like it's just becoming more of a PC thing. You're getting like a higher grade version of a PC. That's fine. But I play games on PS4, PS5, PC. I just want the games in general to be more interesting. I don't care what I play them on. I just feel like
Yeah. Like nowadays, given you can hook your PlayStation 4 controller up to PC, you know, you could pretty much whatever controls you want, you can get on whatever system you want.
what
It's more
game
like,
what game has truly blown your mind? Like really like wow. Like
yeah, what was the
like
last game I had a wow
where's the
moment
last
on?
Portal? Or something like
Yeah.
that. Like whoa shit, that was a video game. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year I beat Portal 2 because I'd never actually played that, and that was such a fun video game. And
But still an
it didn't,
iteration off the original,
yeah.
which is still, you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. Those are things. These are things. These are
But I also find myself more attracted to those kind of games right now, is the kind of iterative puzzle games or the like short, almost mobile puzzle, mobile length puzzle games where it's like Cannon Fodder I'm playing on. That's like it's almost like a puzzle game where you figure out a level and it doesn't take very long to beat the level once you know how to approach it. But
right,
half the fun is you've got to approach it like 10 times before you figure out which way works.
right.
And then Rocket League, it's the same. I enjoy that game a lot. I haven't.
It's one of those things where that game is evergreen though. You can fall out of it, but you come back and it's just as important. It's just as relevant. It's just as competitive.
But again, that's a game that game reminds me a lot of the games that I loved when I was a teenager playing on my Amiga and my Amstrad. A lot of my fun, a lot of the games I really loved were games that my cousin and I would play against each other, like football games or, you know, insert sport here, NBA on the Mega Drive, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Sorry, Sega Genesis. Always.
No.
But yeah, so a lot of the games I've always enjoyed are competitive. So.
Cool. Well, then
But
we oh
what would it
go ahead.
take to get you back into it, I suppose?
Back into it.
Or
I
what?
just I just I just feel like I
Yeah,
just need. I feel like I need an evolution in video games beyond graphics. Beyond graphics, like uh
I feel like I stopped caring about graphics during about the Xbox 360, PlayStation
yeah,
3 era.
yeah. I mean, it's cool
Because
that
like
they're pretty,
there
but
was a bit of a jump from the PS2 to the
oh, for sure,
PS3.
SD to HD. You know.
Yeah. And the PlayStation 4, I do notice when the game is really good looking, like God of War, but I don't notice it as much for a lot of the other games, to be quite honest.
I just need mechanics that are cool. Like I don't know, something just different. I don't know how to explain it. I'm not a game developer. I guess I could be. Hey, someone hire us and I'll figure it
No,
out for you. But
but
I
like
just
first person shooters, I mean, you look at all
you
I've
you
played
look at them all
played
and then
some
you look at
90s.
Titanfall 2. You know, I just
Yeah. Actually, that was probably the last one that had like an interesting game mechanic that was different from every other, you know,
like I think
first
the
person
reason I
shooter.
didn't like Doom, the that you guys all really enjoyed, is that I think Titanfall 2 just was so much better to me. I just like the movement and traversal, and then they tried to bring that into Doom Eternal, I think, but I never played Doom Eternal, so I can't really. But I just feel like Titanfall 2 is such
Doom
speed.
Eternal was just like more Doom. Well, I mean,
But it had a little
just like run
little
around,
parkour
kill
action going
stuff.
on.
Yeah, it also had some like really ridiculous difficulty spikes with that stupid.
And I've just never been a. I've honestly, I mean, the whole guy in Mars thing, I get it, but it's like I don't know. It's just, yeah, I got bored. Titanfall
I
two
must
has
admit,
Titanfall 2 has this like kind of cool aesthetic with the Titans and the I don't know. I just find it more cooler.
I love I love a first person shooter, and Doom Eternal. It was close. It wasn't that close. I much preferred Stein. Gonna go with those kind of games, but
Right. Dave, we've been going
but
at
then
this.
it's
We've
like,
been we've been going at this in an hour. We did an hour.
oh, we've moaned for an hour. I'm sorry, listeners. Yeah. Um, we'll give us 2 or 3 months. I'm sure we'll be back on regular scheduled programming and playing video games like
Yeah, just
fiends.
let us.
'Cause
Yeah, let's all get a PlayStation 5. Let some games come out. We'll probably be back to normal. But right now, we're just kind of. I'm just like moaning the fact that things are dead, and I'm kind of dead, and I got other things going on. We all got other things going
yeah,
on.
it's this thing called life,
Yeah.
and you can only focus on one thing for so long or kind of burn out on it.
You know what else I think it is,
You need
Dave?
to focus on something else for a while.
You know what else I think it
Yep.
is, Dave? Is that this past year is we've been in COVID isolation, and I've been playing so many games that I want to hang out with people. I want to do things. I don't want to
Yep.
fucking sit in my basement anymore and play fucking
I
video
think that's
games.
part of it. And I also think, on a related note to that, is, you know, in the last year, I've gone back and played a lot of video games that I've always wanted to play. I never had the time or whatever.
Right.
And now I'm kind of like, okay, I'm done. Portal's a perfect example of that. Red Dead Redemption that I missed. I've beat that. So and they were good games. Don't get me wrong. It's just time for something a little different.
We were filling time. We were filling the
Yeah,
space, and we just. But now it's just I
I
want
almost feel like
interaction.
the world is opening up again now because I don't know about you, but
I'm so
I'm
excited
gonna
for
be
the Gambler,
vaccinated.
dude. Oh, I know you.
I'm gonna be vaccinated on Thursday,
Your first
and
one, huh? First tap.
yeah, my first one. And then I was reading it today in the paper that they're thinking that it'll basically be open to everyone by April,
Yeah.
which is only 2 weeks away. Less than 2 weeks,
I'm
actually.
curious to see what they do for Gambler. I mean, I'm so excited for Gambler, dude.
Oh, I know. I'm looking forward to. It's just gonna be nice to be out and about again,
Yeah.
not worrying about catching a
Even though we did
disease.
it originally, if you think about it, we did it in the midst of COVID. That first
Yep.
time. It's funny. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, I just feel like having been stuck inside.
Dave
I
has
don't know about you.
Dave has
You.
middle. Dave has middle burnout. I have high burnout. Jared's
Yeah.
never gonna get burnout, and Aaron's never got burnout because he doesn't play video games.
But it's the same for my Netflix queue. My Netflix queue is very skinny right now because I've watched most of the stuff I actually want to watch, It's kind of like
Right.
video games are the same. I've played all the video games I'm really, really interested in playing right now.
Mm.
I had a backlog going into this virus. I had a backlog of probably 5 or 10 games that I bought that I hadn't beat that I kind of wanted to play, just hadn't had time to.
Right.
Now they're all beaten. So
Awesome.
I wonder how much of that is the burnout.
I just hope this wasn't like a downer episode for. I mean, I didn't mean it to be a downer episode. I just meant it to be kind of an honest episode about how like episodes are going to be are kind of slowing down at the moment. A, because we really enjoy doing the beer podcast because we like drinking beer, and B, like we're just kind of burnt out a little bit on video games. So like,
I'm it's also not just burnout. It's just like we just aren't playing video games,
well,
and there isn't
yeah,
much going on in the video game space right now for new releases that we're excited.
right, right. Well, uh, yeah. Hey Dave, before we get out of here, do you have any couch co-optionals? You have anything else you've been watching or doing anything?
I'm watching this long series called it's a Korean series called Sisyphus,
Okay.
which is Sisyphus, I believe.
What's it on?
And it's on Netflix,
Okay.
and the episodes are an hour long each, and there's 16, and it's kind of a time travel weirdness.
Interesting.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'd necessarily wholeheartedly recommend it, but there's some awesome the fight choreography when it happens is really awesome. But in
Cool.
the first 8 episodes, there's probably only 2 or 3, really good fight choreography. But what I really would recommend, especially to you, Ian, I don't know if you've watched Formula One Drive to Survive.
No, but I know that the new season's out. I heard someone talking about the new season recently.
You should watch that. The new season, I mean, episode. Yeah, you should watch it all because it's been fantastic. I've watched all 3 seasons.
Okay.
I've watched them as they come out. But episode, I think in 9 or the second to last episode of this current season, there is a car wreck where the guy's car goes into the fence and it just goes up. And it is the most. It it really made me emotional. Like as a documentary, it was one of the best.
Okay.
It was one of the best pieces of documentary filmmaking I've seen in time, and
I've heard it's
it.
really a great series. I've also heard that they're thinking about the next season releasing it episode per week.
I could see that
because well, no, because I
they're a
guess
bunch of prima donnas as well.
well,
That's
well,
the
not just
best bit.
that, but if you look at Marvel and Disney, they release an episode a week, and the show stays in the zeitgeist longer. When you release
Yeah,
everything at once, it's like, oh, we watched it and it's over, and then there's no more talk about it. And if you have this great series, if you want it to hang in people's minds longer, you got to release it week by week so people can talk about it, and it builds. Yeah, so it
yeah.
makes
Well,
more sense.
Sisyphus does that as well. They released their episodes. I think they would release 2 a week on 2 days a week,
Gotcha.
kind of thing. But that was a similar deal. It was like they didn't just drop all 16 episodes at once, you know.
I think we're gonna
And
start seeing less and less of that binge watching stuff, and people are gonna be like, because they want people to talk about it, you know?
yeah, and to be quite honest, I really enjoyed the Grand Tour when they did that.
For sure.
You know, I would look forward to Friday afternoon when, even though it came out a little earlier, it was like my daughter and I would look forward to, you know, it's
And
like
then it hangs.
Friday,
It
it's the end of the
hangs.
week, we
Yeah.
watch this episode, and then
Yeah. It makes
it's,
sense.
you know, it's more of an event. Whereas, you know, shit just pops up on Netflix, you watch all 12 episodes, and you're like, well,
Yep.
that was really good.
And then that's it. You don't
Next.
talk about it. No one talks about it. You know? It's like, okay.
But yeah, I highly recommend
Okay.
Drive to Survive.
All right.
It
I've looked at it many times. I will get it. I will. You know
you
what? I'm going to look into
you
it.
really should, Ian, because I think it would give you some inspiration for
All right.
your
All right.
for other documentaries as well. But
Okay.
it's really well shot, and it seems like the people in it are really candid.
Gotcha. All right. I will. I will watch it.
Even when they're not being candid, they're candid. You know what I mean? When they say no comment, you can tell they're like freaking pissed off. It's
Gotcha.
awesome.
All right. So I'm gonna. I don't know. Can I do this? Can I recommend our own podcast, the Couch Co-hop podcast? Hey guys, actually, all our listeners, all you guys that listen to us, some of you must really like beer, and I really would like it if you guys would look over and like subscribe to us, the Couch Co-hop. On, you know, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, all kind, Google Play, all that stuff. Uh, I'm not this is not my couch co-optional, but I just want everyone to make sure that, you know, it's a fun podcast. It has has a very tiny video game thing, but it has all the four of us talking about beer and bullshitting with each other. So if on these couch co-op episodes that we're doing now, when they're going to be a little more sparse right now, you're going to get a couch co-op every week. So if you miss our voices, that podcast you're going to get it every week. This video game podcast you might get like every other week or so. So I'm just saying, we're not done. We haven't gone away. Just maybe check us out on the other
Yeah, we're probably
podcasts.
about as sporadic as we have been recently on the
Right.
couch
Right.
co-op.
My
I mean-
actual couch co-optional is this is just childish and stupid, but the Mighty Ducks TV show on Disney Plus. It's
I was never a
goofy
big fan of the
and
movies, so
cheesy.
it's like,
I mean, you know, if you're not a big fan of the movies, then you're probably not. You don't need to watch this.
how
but-
does it compare with Cobra Kai?
Oh, it's not Cobra. Cobra Kai is like leap years ahead of this show. Cobra
Ah.
Kai is a. If you haven't seen Cobra Kai, that's the greatest show of this genre.
Yeah, I'm currently watching like the third season
oh,
of that,
my
so-
god! Oh,
and
so
I'm really
good.
enjoying it.
It's so good.
It's so
Cobra
good.
Kai is so awesome. Mighty Ducks is just I've watched all the Mighty Ducks movies, so I have a little bit of and I like sports bullshit. So if you like the Mighty Ducks shows and it's kind of fun and you know, I'm recommending it, but don't hold a candle. You know, don't point a gun to my head and say, hey, you know, it's goofy and stupid, but it's fun enough. I
Hey,
recommend.
it doesn't need
What
to
else
be
am I
high
gonna
art.
oh,
It just needs to be entertaining.
actually, you know what I could recommend is like I don't think we haven't talked. I could recommend Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong. That was really good.
Yes,
that was
I would
really
recommend that. I
would
watched that
recommend
too.
That was a lot of fun. I mean,
It was
The CG,
It was a fun popcorn movie.
The CG is a bit cheaper than the other films. It gets a little cheaper, but it's a lot of fun. The humans are extremely stupid in this one.
Yep.
They get
Kong
it's
has
funny.
grown a lot as well, wasn't he? Like
Oh.
25 foot or whatever. In the
I
last
don't even
one.
want to get. I don't even want to get into that. Yeah, I mean, if you think about King Kong, and he's a guy who climbs the Empire State Tower building, ultimately to like fend off airplanes, and then Godzilla is literally taller than the Empire State Building.
And he's about as tall as Godzilla in this one, isn't
Yeah,
he?
there's. I mean, obviously they've decided to change some stuff here, but it's still a lot of fun of a movie. It's, I don't know, it's like one of the most consistent of the, like Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, and then this movie.
I'm always surprised how they always manage to make like an interesting movie out of it.
Yeah, right.
Because really, this mine should have been tapped and dry long ago.
That's it.
There's no reason that you should be able to make a good, interesting Godzilla.
You know what? Honestly, it's funny. Like,
but they do.
Honestly, going in, I knew how the movie was gonna play out. I just didn't know what. It's funny. I knew that there had to have been some human interaction as the enemy, the actual enemy. I didn't actually think what they did was the actual enemy. I was like, oh, that's cool. I just knew that like Godzilla wasn't the bad guy. But
yeah.
Anyway, it's a fun movie. It's worth it. If you've been watching the series, it does a good job of following through, even though the humans are like so silly and stupid. Anyway.
Yeah, I also watched Tom and Jerry as well.
That wasn't also that bad. That was pretty good, right?
That was pretty good. There was a few moments where I actually laughed.
And I feel bad for Tom the entire time.
Oh, I know.
Jerry's
such a dick.
Jerry's a dick, and Tom is a struggling musician. He just wants to be a pianist. He doesn't.
Yeah, he sat there in Central Park playing his music and all the rest of it, and Jerry comes over and tries and steals all his money and his limelight, and he's no talent hack. It's just like, and really,
and
then he breaks his keyboard.
Yeah,
it's like, you dick.
Yep.
I hope you get caught in the mousetrap. And
it's like I said, it's like about a musician, a thief, and a con artist. Poor Tom. Anyway, it wasn't actually that bad. Surprisingly, I mean, it's cheesy at the end, but I mean, surprisingly not so bad. Anyway,
actually, if on a side note, it was actually one of the best kind of live action animation movies I've seen
in a while, for sure.
Probably Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, for sure.
It was actually really well done from that point
Obviously,
of view.
Not as edgy, but
no,
as that cartoon, but like for sure, like just the way it was implemented and done. Yes, I would agree.
Yeah, it's not that you don't notice it after a while, but
you just kind of
trying
forget.
To think of the way. Yeah, you kind of forget, and it becomes believable.
For sure.
Which is pretty impressive for a cartoon mouse and a cartoon cat, isn't it? Really.
No, I was actually really surprised, and I enjoyed that quite a bit, actually. All right.
Yes.
Let's get out of here.
Anyway,
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
Let's blow this popsicle stand.
I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to remind you all to leave feedback on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Couch Co-op Shows. All one word, no hyphen. Remember to please subscribe and share, and maybe leave us an iTunes review, and would be awesome. I want to thank Dave for joining me on the couch tonight.
You're welcome.
Talking about games that, we're just too old for or something. I don't know. For Couch Co-op, I'm Ian, reminding you to please be excellent to each other. All right, let me play the outro here. And boom.
So you finally reached burnout.
Couch Co-op. Couch Co-op.